Welcome to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. I'm so glad that you chose to spend part of your day with us. This is the podcast where we find and plug those profit leaks in your home service business. We want you to become wildly profitable and fall in love with your business again. And one of the ways to do that is to plug those profit leaks, put that cash back in your business, take your profit first, pay yourself, get out of there, quit working so many hours, and let your team grow your team so they can work right alongside you and help you reach your goals. Well, today my guest is Kenny Ridgell, and he and I are going to talk a little bit about marketing. It's been a while since we've had a marketing person on the program. And of course, we're going to find some profit leaks for you. So, with that, welcome, Kenny.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you letting me join the show, and thank you all for listening as well.
Yes, it's going to be a good one. I just know it is. I'm going to start off with the question of where is the biggest leak in a home service business when it comes to their marketing? And before you answer that, I see when I look at their general ledger, like in their QuickBooks file or something, I see marketing company A, marketing company B, marketing spend C, D, E, F, G. I mean, I'll see 15 or 20 different things in that marketing category, and I know they're not all working. So what's the most kind of where are they losing money and profits because they're just kind of throwing that spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, that's like back to the old adage of, like I know my marketing's working, but I'm not sure which 50%. The idea
Right.
is to understand truly like what is driving the revenue and what is driving the numbers. I mean, one of the biggest things I see in terms of a profit leak is also is like in relation to marketing is really understanding number one, like the opportunity to follow up and cross sell these individuals whenever you do get in front of them. Too many times whenever we start working with companies, especially when, like, say, for example, we install an FSM, like a field service management tool, we put in like Service Titan, for example, and then a lot of times you see like average ticket sales, and it's funny, like some of your techs are always coming home with like additional like $500,000. And of course, we're
Mm.
not trying to upsell every customer we run into. That's not the model. But the idea is to how can we, as a marketing firm, enhance and empower that technician to make the delivery a little bit easier? What are they dropping off service like descriptions wise? What does your brochure look like? Does it have all the different services? What's your follow up look like with that individual? Right? If we just go do a maintenance on a project, is there any other opportunities for any of our other services that we provide to basically in that house? Because a lot of times the technician's one track minded. They come up with their punch list. They're going straight through. They might drop a brochure and say, "Hey, call us back whenever it's time for doing an install," or "Hey, you might want to get this cleaned." The idea would be following up, right? Where are we putting the
Yes.
notes on that? Is there anything automated that's going to respond back to that person? Are we going to prompt that technician again in a week to call back and check back in and say, "Hey, Diane, we came by your house recently. We noticed that your thing needed cleaning. You were going to talk to your husband about it. Is there a chance for us to come back by and schedule an appointment to come clean your unit?" A lot of times it's just really, I mean, understandably, these technicians are doing so much. We just kind of like got to lay some breadcrumbs for them to follow to make their job a little bit easier whenever they're trying to either cross sell, upsell, or just even following up to close the sale on an opportunity that we introduced.
Right. And the technicians that are listening to this are going, but I'm not a salesperson. That's not my job. And, but yet they're the ones that are there in the home. They're the ones that have that ability to build a rapport, build a little bit of a relationship with that homeowner. And the owners, let's say you and I are the owners, we don't get to talk to those people, or generally we don't. And so
Exactly.
we really rely on those technicians to be trained enough and to feel an ownership in our companies. Because if they don't feel that ownership of their part of the company, they're going to go down the list, check off the item. I did everything on the checklist and walk out the door.
And a lot of times, I will say, like some of the information like that I've gathered when having these meetings with these technicians, and when we go in, we just trying to audit and understand what their process is. I think a lot of times it's just confidence too. They're not
Yes.
necessarily because they're not a salesperson. They're not necessarily like they're not very comfortable in their social people skills. It's
Hmm.
not really like in their lane. So a lot of it, if we can just like make their life easier by here's a script to follow. Here's the like brochure to hand out and what to say with the brochure. Like stamp, like go ahead staple your business card to the top, prompt them with a text message where all you have to do is like press a push notification to send the text message back out. Have the
Hmm.
text message pre-written. Have the like all this stuff pre-written for them for the email follow-up. That way it makes it like low-hanging fruit. It doesn't disrupt their day. They're getting back in their car. They'd probably drive another 15 to 30 minutes to another job. They're not really sitting there on their cell phone. Thankfully, they're not like on their social media, right? Like a lot of other people. The technicians like that we deal with a lot of times are very blue collar people. They're not going to be, they're punctual, right? They
They
want to
are.
go
Yep.
their stuff out. So if we can make it to where it doesn't disrupt their flow and they can easily just step in and help us, the biggest thing is, I think I'll give you even another example in this. We had a company that did a lot of manual contracts, right? So they didn't have a digital filed storage system for every maintenance contract they had. They had a fallout rate because they would lose touch with people, right? They would sell their house.
Definitely.
They
Yeah.
basically all these different like nuanced reasons what happens when you're doing manual paper tracking versus digital online. And a lot of times the contact information wasn't always freshly updated. Like phone numbers might change, emails might change. So one of the things we started doing also was like prompting these technicians to make sure at the very beginning of the meeting, hey, can we just make sure your customer profile is completely correct? Do we have all the information filled out? Even if you just hand the iPad over, get them to kind of fill it out, get it started. Like the homeowner a lot of times can knock that stuff out for you while you're going around the house. The
Hmm.
best part is just making sure we have updated contact information. So if we do have these scheduled text messages or emails, that we have somewhere to actually send them. And then the other part of it is, I think one of the things I noticed with that was a lot of times they were like waiting. Understandably, it's kind of like the gym model. They're waiting on that homeowner to schedule their maintenance meeting. So, they're thinking in their mind, well, I'm just making clean profit. I don't have to send the tech out. I'm not going to really pursue every maintenance contract to sign up for their maintenance actual scheduled appointment. We'll follow up and prompt them. If they don't schedule it, it's okay. But the one thing we noticed when we dug a little bit deeper was every time you go to one of those sales calls, it's almost like going to the dentist. And every time you get your teeth cleaned, you're not exactly going to find a cavity. But the reason the dentist is cleaning your teeth is because he wants to find a cavity or something else in your mouth that's wrong. Kind of the same idea with the maintenance. Like we want to get on property into your house, and then a lot of times you're going to identify like a new opportunity or an upsell. So what we actually quantified was the maintenance visits we got. What was our average return, additional ticket value, and on average, like basically you're somewhere between like $600 to $800 per visit. And if you're not tracking that granular, that's okay. There are systems you can easily put in place to be tracking, like, okay, every maintenance visit, how much more upsells are we getting on average? What does it look like? How many more jobs are we generating for ourselves out of that? And I think a lot of times it might be a little away from marketing, but at the end of the day, I always say like if our customers are successful and they make more money, then at the end of the day, they remain our customers and we end up
That's
making
right.
more money. We win together. So a lot of times you end up having to be like a sales consultant and like really work with these individual technicians and like really help the business as a whole grow. So I think there's 5 pillars of the business, right? You got sales, marketing, fulfillment, back office, and customer support. It's like we're asking these technicians to really do the customer support, the sales, the marketing, maybe even a little bit of the fulfillment. It's like, okay, well, we're really putting a lot in this basket of the technician. They're the forward facing person for our company. So how can we arm them to like really cover those like pillars of the business? Of course, the customer support a lot of times or the back office will handle some of that, but really definitely 3 of it is being accomplished by the individual
Definitely.
technician.
Yeah. Yes. Wow, there was a lot there. And I know just from talking to so many home service business owners that if they're not on a CRM type system like Service Titan or House Call Pro or one of those, that they are missing those follow-ups. They're missing that the whole customer retention piece of it, of keeping them as a customer and not letting them forget about you. And the next time they need your service, they go to well, it's not Yellow Pages anymore. They go to Google or wherever they're going, AI, wherever they're going, and maybe your name shows up and maybe they remember. Chances are they won't. But if we're doing the other route, most of that money drops straight to your bottom line profits because you didn't have
Yeah.
to go out and you didn't have to buy another customer. You didn't have to do all that work up front. And so it's so much cheaper to keep them in your world, put that proverbial fence around them and keep them as your customer.
Yeah, we call it like proactive versus reactive. Of course, we have
Yes.
like reactive marketing, which would be like your pay-per-click ads, like your social media ads, somebody's searching for you. We want to make sure we show up there, but we also need to be proactive with the people. As they always say, it's easier to get more from an existing customer than it is to get a whole new
Yeah.
customer. Basically, why I love to start, one of the first things we want to do is step in and understand like the actual ticket value of those maintenance visits is because once you get a buy-in from the ownership group, like, okay, we took, for example, we had one client. I think he had around 1,500 at the time we started maintenance contracts. He was really performing maintenance on about 500 to 600. He's like, I'm going to have to send out 900 more technicians visits to accomplish that. Like, I don't really want to have to do those. I said, well, the 500 you did do, you averaged an average ticket value of $600. If you go visit those additional 1,000 people at $600 a piece, that's another $60,000. You should probably do it. And I'm like, and most of that's profit because you're immediately like, you've already covered your cost of the guy being on site and already going out.
Right.
So really like that, you unlock another $60,000 in a person's company in month one. They're immediately starting to trust you a little bit more and like starting to look at everything. So, but there's just so much low hanging fruit in this maintenance industry and like home service industry to where if you can like really just like dial in the details, make things really like clean to like monitor in terms of revenue. There's so many ways to really like capture that profit. So like I'll give you, and back to your example of like people not remembering to call you back. I heard a stat from a realtor recently. 93% of people fill out, I was happy with my realtor. On average, 10% of people call the realtor back. It's not, so there wasn't
Wow.
the fact that they were not happy. It was the fact that who is their next door neighbor, who's the person they
Yeah.
met at church, who like blah blah blah, whoever
Yeah.
was at the closest last touch. So
Yeah.
I always like to remind the technicians that just because you have their maintenance contract doesn't even mean they're going to call you when it's time to do an install. They
No.
might never remember they have a maintenance contract. So you
Nope.
got to be reminding these people. And obviously it's in today's environment where we're like so saturated with information. It's like you got to be a multi-pronged approach, and personal is really the best way. So like the
Yes.
technician reaching back out is going to get your. We can all run a Facebook ad. We can all send email marketing. At the end of the day, the individual person to person, people to people, is where the business can be made additional profit. Because people like once they begin to trust your tech, they might even call in and ask for the tech. Like
They could.
I want
You bet.
I want Kenny to come back to my house next time. Hey, Kenny came last time. I thought he was great. The more we start seeing reviews with technicians' names and more requests for technicians, we know we've like unlocked the profit underneath.
Hmm. And that's such a much easier way to generate profit than to throw out those ads and hopefully they convert and hopefully your CSRs are getting those calls, they're answering them quickly and non-timely and they're getting them turned around. I mean, that's a whole lot of if sitting out there where if you've got a current customer and you can keep them, make them happy, think outside the box of ways that you can enter their world.
Right,
I know I've talked to a few home service business owners where they've just done a simple postcard. They ordered a
right.
bunch of postcards and had the tech sign them. Just a handwritten signature on it was all. It didn't take much. Here, guys, sit down and sign 50 of these cards. We'll send them out for you. You know,
Yeah,
just
what
little
we've actually
things.
done, like reintroducing the benefits they get as their maintenance with their maintenance package too is like
Yeah.
one of the things we like to do on those mailers
Yes.
is
They forget.
and like people don't really they I signed the maintenance contract, I got it. They forget, well, if I do an install with y'all, I get 10 or 20%. Or and I don't know if everybody does that, but that is a common way to like give your
Yep.
reward to the people who are maintenance agreements for the install discount. And at the end of the day, sometimes that could be like, here's a 10% off coupon. Like, thanks for being a maintenance customer. Here's a 10% off coupon for your next install job. Please call your technician Diane today to schedule. Boom.
Uh-huh.
And the idea is just like trying to put that on a T because now we're making the job easy for the technician too, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they pick up the phone, they call Diane. They're like, "Hey, Diane, I got your letter in the mail." Diane's like, "I forgot I even signed those 50 letters in the mail." Morning. Like, if the best part is where we all and I think one part that we all forget about in terms of like the home service industry, there's a lot of price shopping that happens, right? And
There
so
is. Yeah.
and the people who've already committed to you, they've already anteed up, they've already put in the game. They're number one going to be your probably least sensitive price sensitive customer.
Yeah.
So those
Uh-huh.
people are going to have the best like path to actually like converting to more dollars because they've already bought into your brand. They already trusted you once. You've already won them over. Hopefully you've been doing a good job. And they're getting a little bit of discount, so like it helps you for the price shopper. I mean, I'm notorious about that myself. Like we have a maintenance plan. We need to replace our AC unit in our house right now. Naturally, I've called the maintenance company. They came
Mhm.
out, they checked it, they gave me a price. I got two more quotes. It was incrementally different. I would say it's probably like an 8,000, $8,500 unit. I could probably have gotten it installed for 7,500, but for 8,500 to go with the company I already trusted, it already seen my unit, already seen my house. It made like it was a negligible amount of money. I was like, I might as well spend the additional little bit of money and go with
Yep.
the people.
Ah,
And I think a lot of people are going to have that because it is a big investment. We're not talking about like small amounts of dollars. We're talking about a significant, especially for homeowners. It's an unforeseen expense. A lot of times it comes up at the wrong time. So it's
yeah,
like
definitely.
if,
Yeah.
if we need to remind them that like you get what you pay for, and a lot of times that is the relationship. I think
You
that in the
bet.
trust. Because a lot of times you have these guys or women come to your house and you're like, I hope they know what they're doing. We're pretty much putting all of our eggs in this person's basket. I hope 6 months later I'm not calling another tech to come back out and figure out what happened.
Several years ago, I was working with an HVAC company down in Southern California, and he had a very novel approach to those kinds of calls. He would arm his techs with all kinds of batteries, and he'd send them out, and with the caveat is while you're there, change the batteries in the smoke alarm, in the remote control for their TV, in anything like that. So they had this nice variety of batteries in their vans. And he said it gave them an excuse to walk through the whole house, basically. Because, oh, you got a battery, let me go change that one, you know. And so I gave them the chance, and they came out with this nice list of things that the homeowner really kind of should have done. And it gave them a reason to stay in contact. And he says the techs that bought into their battery program, their sales just skyrocketed because they showed concern. We showed up with free batteries, and it was a way to get your foot in the door. And they did it twice a year. They would come through with their battery program, and their customers looked forward to it because they knew that twice a year those smoke alarm batteries were going to get changed, and that was important to them. And they built that value there. Cost them minimal. You know, they bought batteries in bulk, cost them mineral or minimal, and it built some very loyal customers for them. But they were thinking outside the box.
Yeah, that's huge. In terms of like auditing like technicians, I think one thing we've even done too is you don't really want to tell your techs you're doing this because you don't want them to start trying to upsell your individual, like, everybody they run into. But one of the things we've actually done is once we started doing that maintenance program, we started monitoring who's like getting the biggest ticket value items. And then, but to be honest, they might be just as good a technician, but they're not exactly the people person. So
Uh-huh.
we might audit people who are struggling at the upsell process, and we're going to move them to the install crew. We're going to take the install crew and we're going to try and figure out who's the people person and put them back in the position of like the maintenance plan. Because of
Okay.
course,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of times you take your like experienced person, you put them on the install crew because it's a bigger job. But a lot of times you're taking your best guy out of the field or best woman out of the field, and you're putting them in the
Yeah.
wrong seat because now they're not getting as much customer time in terms of like the upsell opportunities. So if you have that metric of like what their average ticket number is, it gives you information at least before you make the decision of being like, well, Tom's really good. We need a new install tech. Let's move Tom over to install. It's like, well, Tom's the guy who's selling the most new unit
Yeah.
installs. We
Don't
don't
move
Tom
him.
away. Yeah. And I think so many times, like the shuffling of the techs within the company, even just looking at the map and the route, a lot of times, oh, well, Tom's near there. We can just send him down and he can do that like install job while he's over there doing the maintenance job. Well, don't take Jeffrey, who doesn't want to talk to anybody, and send him to the,
Yeah.
like a lot of times it's like just because it's conveniently on the map doesn't mean like, so we ended up having to assign stars basically, like a 5-star rating of like customer service capability for each person internally. And then the algorithm was set up to where it would spin and only put those people would get only maintenance contracts. The people who were like the one or twos, they were getting only installs. So
Uh-huh.
we were able to like basically trying to create a little like, if that, then this like scheduling program to roll like
Right.
because a lot of it is
Yeah.
just like really putting the people in the position where they're going to thrive and like do the best
Yeah.
for you.
And over the years in my accounting firm, I've hired bookkeepers who are good at client facing and bookkeepers who stink at client facing. Just give them work, put them in the corner, and let them do their job. And that's where they excel. Same thing in any of our teams, you do have those that are good at the client facing, customer facing type positions, and then those that you just need to be your workhorses and let them get the work done. Get out of their
Is
way. Don't make them talk. Just let them get the work done. And when you can
I
recognize that and put them in those right places within your business, that's another way to get your profits to increase because you're no longer leaking profits because you got a very shy, withdrawn type of person putting them in a client facing position.
Yeah, we actually do the same thing with our customer service reps whenever we come in. We a
Hmm.
lot of times will take the form on the website and we'll add a lot of different like options for fields. And we don't make them mandatory, right? So they don't have to fill out every one. They just want to put their phone number and their name in there and their one problem. That's fine. They can fill out the 3 out of the 12 form steps. And then what we would do is we'd rank the quality of the score based on how many fields were filled out. That way, like
Okay.
the strongest customer service rep in terms of like actually knowing the industry, because of course you have some of the like beginners and you have some of the like
Right.
experienced ones. Somebody's
Yeah.
calling in for just a maintenance job. Hey, my heat pumps out. Okay, great. That our one of our novice new beginner customer service reps can probably handle that. Somebody who comes in and says like, I just bought a new house. We need a furnace. We need this. We need they basically start listing out. We're looking to convert to a hot water heater. They list all their different items out. You're like send that to our experienced customer service rep. So we did a 1 through 5 score of like every lead that comes in, and then that way the leads are split up to the customer service reps. We even took it one step further and did a call recording program. to where it actually will monitor and like it scores the call, good call, bad call based on keywords you say,
Mhm.
and or the customer says, and it ranks those. And then same thing in terms of the follow ups. What we'll do is we'll have like the ones that are good leads be routed to the correct follow up path, whereas like the weaker leads might go to like one of the newer like customer service reps. And so, in a good way, we're helping the customers pre-qualify themselves before they talk to the right person or the wrong person. Because I mean, I think we've
Right.
all had the experience when you call them before, and you're like, I should probably just hang up and call again because this person's not the most helpful. Like I think we've all had
We've
that.
done that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm gonna call back in. I'm gonna call back in later. And I
Yeah.
think like if we can just make that little bit of like friction removed, you're just unlocking more profit right away. Just because I mean, a lot of the times this stuff is speed, like speed to lead is really how we're closing these deals. I mean, a lot of times people call us in an emergency situation, in a problem situation, particularly phone calls. They're really trying to get to somebody quick who can help them quickly. The form leads might be more a little bit of a drawn out. We have a sales process to that, but like the phone calls are usually like, I want somebody here. When's the next
And
time you?
how fast can you get somebody to my house? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say that that right there is a profit like we've not talked about on this program, to where we can work our CSRs to the right lead coming through. We've not had anybody talk about that piece of it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, the program we use is called CallRail. If anybody wants to install it, I would recommend even just telling your agency or your marketing director. It's very easy. Put one code on the back end of your website. It costs like per minute, like an average home service contract, somewhere between like $200 to $300 a month for the program. And it actually gives you the ability to like give quality like assurance and training to your staff. It tells you like where the source of the lead came from. So it's another way to audit your marketing. It'll tell you every phone call that came from each campaign because it gives a ghost number to each campaign. So even
Okay.
on Google Ads, it like will switch the number out so you would know which keyword it came from. Was it like a retargeting campaign? Was it display? Was it search? Which keyword was it? And
Oh,
that way you
wow.
like in a good way you can actually take your like your CRM or your FSM. You can export all your closes. You can export all of your leads, and you can draw them together using like ChatGPT, just uploading both like CSV files and
Mhm.
saying, hey, we find the like same phone numbers, emails, or like contact names using any of the three of the fields. Can you match them to any of our new bookings? Will you also pull the revenue and tell me what my ROI is? So that's like an immediate way for you to like basically export all the incoming leads, export all of like what you actually did in WorkWise, mesh the two together and get you your number for like cost per lead and a cost per close. And in the good way, like we take it one step further. You should be able to look at like from Google, what was my cost per lead and cost per close? From Meta, what was my Google cost per close,
Yes.
cost per lead? And I think the moment you start doing that, now you're like starting to figure out which 50% of your marketing is working, which 50% is not. And you quickly start turning off ad campaigns. Like as soon as you start like doing that, it's one of my favorite ways to like pick up new clients is like plug in CallRail and see what your agency's doing. They're like, wow, a ton of these leads are just coming through organically. They're Googling our name. Okay, well, your branding is working. So like your
Yes. Yeah.
billboards, your TVs, that kind of stuff. They're typing your name in and calling you. It's not saying your marketing doesn't work. It just means that's a different type of like vocal brand
Hmm.
presence working. If the keywords aren't working, then we maybe either need to shut down the pay per click model, go to Google Guaranteed. I don't know. You basically in the cat a thousand ways, but once you have data and answers, now you can make a decision. And I think it's got to be in like a scalable, predictable model in marketing today, where you're like,
Hmm.
I mean, we even have it down to where we start running like CTV or like streaming TV ads, and we spend an extra $1,000. We kind of know how many more phone calls we're expecting to get from that thousand additional $1,000. Because once you've created this like predictable model, you're like, all right, Kenny, it's springtime. We're slow. I need to get a decent number of maintenance contracts. If I spend an extra like 5 grand on like a couple of marketing campaigns, how much should I get over the next 60 days? Okay, historically, we're going to split on these two channels. This is our like most efficient spend. Here's how many more customers you should expect to get in those not in those 60 days. And it needs to be that level of like
It
predictable.
does. Yeah.
And that way, like you can control your scaling. You're like, okay, we can scale up, we can scale down because it is a seasonal business too. So you kind of got to
It
have the
does.
leverage pull
Yep.
and like play with as you get busier or slower.
And I will tell you that a lot of the home service guys that I work with and see all the time, they don't have that level of knowledge of their numbers. They might have an overall, here's what our sales were for the month, maybe even sales by service line, but that's almost as deep as it goes. So I'd love for them to have more of these deeper type numbers so they can make better decisions and take that 50% of the marketing that's not getting them anything, either put it back in for something else or add more to what is working, depending
Yeah,
on, the situation that they're in. Because sometimes they can invest it in their team and get a better team. Get some
yeah.
more training and things like that for their team with that
That's always
money.
when I
So,
talk to our business development like reps, one of the main things I always tell them, I'm like, look, we're not only auditing their marketing, we're auditing their entire like spend and business
yes.
process. A lot of
Yep.
times you're like, we want like full transparency. We'll sign an NDA. We come in and we like fully basically audit their books. We're looking at tech. We're looking at dues and subscriptions. We're looking at printing because a lot of times there's so much waste in dues and subscriptions in
Yes.
tech.
Yep.
There's so much waste in printing. There's so much waste in like promotional products that basically just sit on somebody's desk and never go out. It's like how many times do we print koozies or T-shirts or what? Like all these different nuanced things. And Jimmy's baseball game, we did the T-ball T-shirts and we did this, and it's like, okay, well, let's set a little slush fund aside, and like everyone has to apply internally to sponsor their son's T-ball team. That's fine, but like let's put some parameters to it. We only have $10,000 we're going to give to T-ball teams. Or else you got like everyone on the staff's T-ball team sponsored. Okay, do we really need to do that? Okay, but the idea is just trying to like pull out. And a lot of times we always say we want to find 20% of savings to go to their pocket because a lot of times we understand that when we turn the marketing faucet on, they're going to have to reinvest in like the other
Yeah.
pillars of the business, right? They're going to have to invest in
Yes.
fulfillment, the back office, customer service. So if we can create a 20% budget for them to go either hire a new person, hire training, basically reinvest in their team, then a lot of times like we basically paid for ourselves, right? We're like, hey, look, we're going to cut your marketing spend down to 80%, use the other 20% to get prepared because we're about to turn on like a faucet and water's going to start flowing in. Do we have a way to catch it? And in a good way, you're basically kind of like, I think you earn a lot of trust doing that too, but it's
You do.
also
Yeah.
unlocking profit. And like I always say, like a lot of times in marketing, it's the first 9 days the hardest, trying to get the buy-in, the trust, and get early quick wins. And those
And
are,
they have to spend money up front.
yeah.
And
And
they
so like
have no guarantee that you can do anything with that money.
a lot of times it's not going to do anything for the first 30 to 60 days, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
like basically, unless we get lucky and you hit a little like, home run on the first pitch, sometimes you do that. But a lot of times it's like it needs momentum, it needs like education, the machine learning has to take place. So you really
Yep.
like trying to like buy some like, good graces with with the owner and buy, here's saving 20%. Here's like some other ways. And in that way, they like, they get immediately like just a little bit of traction. Like another thing we've done is on LinkedIn. I think this is a huge opportunity for like the home service reps. You can do these like LinkedIn campaigns with Sales Navigator. There's a program. I mean, you could probably Google like 1,000 different options, but they have these automated messaging centers. You can actually record a video, and it could be like, "Hi, I'm Diane. I run like Profit First HVAC company. I'd love to come talk to you." And it changes the name of the person. So say, "Hi, hi, I'm Diane. Kenny, I was looking at your business." And you can actually tailor it to go out to everybody in the region that has a home of a certain size or like a CEO of a company. So I always think companies are like a good path to do this with. A lot of times they don't have HVAC maintenance agreements. So a lot of times I'm like, send us your lease. It probably has a stipulation where you're required to pay for your HVAC maintenance. If you don't pay for HVAC maintenance, you could be liable for this. Trust me, I know because it's happened to me. Like where I didn't HVAC maintenance, HVAC machine broke, I was responsible. So we ended up doing like a LinkedIn, like basically education. Send us your lease. We'd be happy to review it and see if like there's anything that you're not upholding on your end from an HVAC maintenance perspective or plumbing or electrical perspective. At that point, you're able to like it changes the name. It's hi, I'm Kenny Diane, and it just changes it to Tommy to whatever. And the
That's
video is a
amazing.
personalized message from you saying to them, "I'll read your lease for free." A lot of times, like you're probably going to go through 50% leases don't matter, but how long does it take you to scan a lease and say, "Here's the requirements for like maintenance"? At that point, you're able to come back and say, "Hey, look, you need to have a multi-year annual maintenance program. You need to have this much in place. It's your responsibility to do that. If not, here's what happens." And I think those are I'm just talking about early, easy wins because like we can get a
Yeah.
couple businesses spend money. Usually it's a big pop. The LinkedIn campaign is not like a sustainable long-term solution because there's only so many people in your region that you can email them that are going to work. But in a good way, like all we're trying to do is like unlock like savings, get some early quick
Right.
cash in
Yeah.
their pockets, and then basically try and get them into like a new plan so that at day 60 to 90, when the marketing does really start working, they've like given you the patience to like really like see it through.
And they trust you by that point, and they'll stick with you and give you that opportunity so that you can work for free. Because I have the same type of thing in my profit coaching programs as, give me a little bit of time and I'm working for free for you because we're
Right.
finding these profit leaks in your business. We're plugging them. We're putting that money back into your bank account, but it doesn't happen on day one.
Right. We're creating our own budget. That's why I always like to say, like, we're trying
Yeah.
to fund our own marketing. As long as we can attach ourselves to the revenue growth, and a lot of times people will reinvest too, right? You're like, hey, look, you had
Yeah.
an additional $100,000 come in. Why don't we carve another like 5% out of that for marketing? Okay, there's another $5,000 a month. And like
Right. Yeah.
start tying the string back to where it's coming from. You end up unlocking more budget for you. I think one of the biggest things we do when we start with a company is completely unmarketing related in terms of profit leak though, is how many times do people come back to the office to get tools? That's something a lot of people
Way
don't.
too many. Way too many.
And so we just we make like a short punch list for every tech in the morning that's digital. And before they get their route, they have to check their inventory of their car. And so in a good way, it's like
Yeah.
that way they know first thing in the morning, I need to come in the office and get the stuff for my jobs today. And we actually built it to where like once you assign the jobs, even if they can't see the jobs, it'll tell them, it'll like basically populate the inventory list they need to bring. So that way
Uh-huh.
the inventory list is custom to what their day holds. So that way they log on, they're like, dang it, I don't have this, this, and this. All right, I gotta go to the office. And if you can like just limit one return to the office, basically saving you probably 32 minutes to an hour in terms of round trip time travel at
Oh,
minimum.
that's huge.
All that's mileage is a whole other job that can be seen. And I
Yeah.
think that's just another thing we do right away is like try and make like a digital version of an inventory checklist. Because everyone's like, oh, we have an inventory checklist. I'm like, but your guys don't check it off. Like maybe once a week they come in and they check it off. And did they turn into anybody? Is anybody holding them accountable? Like what's the sale like process needs to be like your day is unlocked when you complete the online checklist. There is no option to completing this checklist. You can
I
just
love
check off
that.
a hole and then sign it off. But if you come back to the office, we actually created like a penalty program where if they came back to the office, they would like lose like like the next job. So like they basically just get sidelined and they have to do work at the office. Oh, you came back? Okay, we went ahead and
Oh,
bumped your next job over. You're gonna need to help us clean up the warehouse or like prep for the next guys come by to get hers. So now nobody wants to come back to the office because they don't want to be stuck doing anything in the warehouse. But they're dang sure and they want to get their list and they want to go to their job. So they'll fill out their sheet, they'll do it accurately, and they take their jobs and go. But from a
love it.
revenue perspective, like how much money is that saving from like if you take 10 techs that are driving every day back and forth to the office, that's 5 days a week. That's 50 trips. I mean, like that's a lot. Like just 10 techs like every day of the week. And that's 50 extra wasted round trips to the office. Like at the end of the month, it's 200. It's like you
And
talk
you
about leak. You got a
that's a
lot of
huge leak. I was working with an electrical company on the East Coast a couple years ago, and it was a husband-wife ownership. He ran the business, she did the bookkeeping and stuff from inside the house, so she didn't run out to the shop hardly ever. And he was super, super sick with the flu one time. And so she goes, Hold, don't worry about it. I'll go out to the shop, make sure the guys are running, everybody's got their stuff, and they head out the door. So she gets there and she goes, I can wing it, you know. I've heard him talk about it enough. I'll be fine. So she gets all her guys out on the road, and here comes the first call. Hey, I don't have such and such or whatever piece it was. And another call. And the guy says, I'm just going to run to the parts house and get it. She goes, I'll go get it for you. You stay on the job. So she goes to the parts house and she goes, I was shocked. I walked in there and there's about 15 guys milling around, visiting, drinking coffee, eating popcorn, eating donuts. She goes, I was watching those guys and they were there a minimum of a half an hour, just standing around visiting and stuff. She goes, the light bulb went on. My guys have been doing the same thing, and we've been paying for that. When we ran that number out, it was like $130,000 a year loss just because they weren't fully stocked when they headed out in the morning. And they got to go eat donuts and popcorn at the parts house.
Yeah, they're basically probably subconsciously, maybe not actively consciously, they want to go
They're,
to the
they
part of
want to go there.
the like I
Yes.
gotta go to the parts house. It's like everybody at the job site's all like, there goes Derek back to the parts house. Like,
Yep. For
like
the third time today.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no,
But
it's insane. Like how much waste there. Like
yeah.
the economies of scale. I think somebody explained it to me perfectly too. Like, and I think this always has stuck with me in terms of like employees showing up early or leaving late. He said, look, if somebody shows up 30 minutes a day late, at the end of the day, after 5 days, how many hours is that? Okay, it's 2.5 hours. Do that across a month. It's 10 hours. Do that across a year. It's
Yeah.
520 hours. Like that is
How
52 weeks
many?
of 10 hours.
Yeah.
How many hours billable rate is that you just lost out on that person being 30 minutes
Yes.
late? And it's
Yep.
insane the number that comes back to you. And like just the sheer number of like work days, 520 hours divided by 40 is like a lot of days. It's like at
Yes.
the end of the day, like they're basically skipping not just like 30 minutes a day. They're missing whole work weeks.
A whole work
Like
weeks. Plural. Yes.
it's 13 work days. It's almost two whole
Yeah.
work weeks if you do 520 divided by 40.
It's
So
like,
they
yeah, they
basically
got extra two
almost
weeks of vacation.
yeah, like two and a half. Yeah. If they're working 5 days a week. So it's like they
Yeah.
just that 30 days and it adds up. And I always say to people like, if you do it the inverse way, if you work 30 minutes extra, you're getting an extra like basically 2.5, 3 weeks of work days for the whole year by just getting extra
Yes.
30 minutes of work in. And I think if you can just squeeze an extra like 10 minutes out of every person, we're not asking to stay till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Just maybe show up on time and leave on time would be a good example
That'd
to
be good.
start.
Yeah. But it's so funny though that these things feel like small little pieces, but when you multiply them out over your team and over the course of a year, and then they do it year after year after year, those numbers are huge. And that's free money. Go pick it off the tree. You don't
Yeah,
have to spend
like
anything to
apparel,
get
like
it.
a big
Yeah.
waste on apparel. Like we ended up like we put a lot of times like an online ordering portal for like the team, so they can go get like new shirts, new hats, and like get all their materials for like say Diane started today. All right, we want to send Diane like a starter package. She needs to get a koozie. She needs to get pencils, pens, clipboard, whatever the heck she needs to get. Right. The idea is like they can go online and order it. We ended up having to set a cap and a limit to everyone got like a budget in there because one guy's like, I ordered my son hats and I ordered my wife some t-shirts and my neighbor got some like koozies, and it's
Oh,
like,
goodness.
like we realized there's a ton of waste going on like on the online ordering. And then like the reason we put the online ordering is because they would run out of hats all the time because everybody's going to the back grabbing the free hats. They're like, oh, there's a whole box of hats back there. I needed a new shirt. My shirt got dirty today, so I grabbed a new shirt. And it's like, well, how many shirts does everybody have? How many hats does everybody have? Is there any rhyme or reason to what one guy's been there for a decade. He has the same three pairs. One guy's been there a year and he's got 40 different outfits. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, just trying to put a reasoning on like apparel and uniforms is in itself just a nice touch to try and figure out. Okay, what we do is now every 6 months you get X number of budget. You can buy new shirts, new hats, whatever your budget runs out. You got to come back to us and ask for more money to be able to reorder. It's a, but it's so much savings happen out of that because I mean, think about it. If you just have a box of hats in the back, everybody's got access. I mean, it's just one hat per person, but if you have 50 people, there's 50 extra hats. Every hat's $20. I mean,
Yeah.
it just
It
starts
adds
adding up
up.
fast,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
fast.
Well, you have really been dropping some profit bombs today. I'm loving this.
Yeah. I literally love my home service industry, and I feel like it's one of those things where my brother is a contractor, so I feel like I've like I lived in a family household. My uncle runs a big insulation business, so I kind of grown up around like the back
Yeah.
end office conversation, like the dinner talk is really related to like the business core front of it. And in a good way, a lot of my friends that I've become clients who become friends that run these businesses, you become like ingrained partners, and you start
You
seeing so
do.
many
Right.
things, and you're like, all right, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? I mean, shoot, we like set up a random like one of my clients worked with a local community college because hiring is a big problem, and he actually started up a sponsorship and scholarship to where these people completed it. They would get certified as a technician. They would have a job offer opportunity with him, and they would if they worked for a certain amount of time, he would pay off their actual schooling.
I
And
have
so
another client that did that too. It was so amazing. Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing. But at the end of the day, like obviously that's not really profit savings, but in a sense it is because you're not having to hire or train and everything else like that. It's harder to tie
Right.
the dots, but in a sense, if you're creating a pipeline of new employees that are certified and trained in your methodology, like all you have to do is like repay their student loans. I mean, it's a minimal consequence to like keeping a loyal like
Yes.
employee for a long time. So I mean,
Yep.
there's just unrelated to marketing so many different ways to improve these businesses, and it's like thankfully the world is in the market today there's a lot of opportunity because a lot of these businesses have been blessed to just kind of like run as status quo and still be okay. But because of that, there's so much more like juice to squeeze out of the orange.
We call them accidentally profitable.
Yes,
Now let's change you from accidentally profitable to wildly profitable. And all we have
exactly.
to do is just close these little gaps that are sitting out there everywhere.
Absolutely. It's crazy though how much,
Yeah.
like you said, a lot of times because the need is so high in the market right now, a lot of times
Yes.
people can run a poor business structure and still like make
And still
accidental
make accidental profit. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Kenny, we've come to the part of the show where it's time for us to explore a hidden or unique profit leak that you see as you've been working with these home service guys. I know you've given us some great ones already, but let's see if you can wow our listeners with one last one.
I think I think one of the biggest things that I noticed was the passing of um, I'll do two. One is like the passing
Okay.
of credit card fees. So like a lot of times like that's something that people are reluctant to do. It is becoming more common. Like you go to your common coffee house, 50% of the time they're passing you the credit card fee too. And at the
Mhm.
end of the day, a lot of these customers are like probably really struggling to like, you know, pay their bills. I don't know if that's common across all everywhere else, but it does seem like AR is a definitely like trend in the home service industry that's difficult. So a lot of times, start with it on there, waive it if you need to collect, but just trying to also on the second end of that piece, trying to get away from manual billing, saving them like
Yes.
paperwork and having to send all that stuff out. I think that is one of the biggest things we can do with customers is like digitize their billing department. Get this stuff all online, get it all automated, and collect faster. Get your technicians comfortable for asking money at the door. Don't send them an invoice. Don't do net 30. Like if we can get paid for work, I think there's like a funny like meme that I saw an agency made in New York, and the guy goes into like he goes in the coffee shop. He says like, "I'm gonna try your bacon, egg, and cheese in your coffee. If I like it, I'm gonna pay you. If I have some problems with it, I'll argue with you." And then he goes like to a gym, he goes to a hairdresser, and he kind of plays out the same scenario. And everyone's like, "I'm not paying you like that." And he's like, "Same thing with service-based businesses. You pay me for my
Right.
work when it's done." And then,
That's
the,
right.
the concept is like, I think marketing falls in the same world of like services where like people pay for it. I don't know if they always pay their, they want it, they sign up for it. I don't know if they always pay for it. And it's like, so it's like this whole loophole of like trying to connect on like not doing free labor. And like, it's not a matter of if you like it or not. We did the work. Like the work is done. And I think that, especially in the home services world, you're trying to chase a homeowner down. You're trying to chase these people down. A lot of times it's less than $7,000. You're in a small claims court situation. It's hard to recoup and or collect. I think so. Number one, pass those credit card fees, save the 3% on your end. Number two, try and process the stuff on site, not do manual billing. Because think about all the stamps, all the mailing, all the staffing it takes to do all the
Staffing,
individual
yes.
like. It's insane how much money and waste and profit leakage there is on this like manual billing component. And there are so many tools in today's world where like you can basically pass that credit card, you can waive it if you need to get the people to pay you right there. That's 3% loss, but it's better than 30 days lost. And then also just removing any mail that's going out for bills. Like it all should be coming digitally, and it really shouldn't have to be coming at all. If we can do it correctly in the collective front, there's no response. You don't want to be the guy in the coffee shop being like, if I like your coffee and your bacon, egg, and cheese, I'll pay you. If not, I'm going to pay you a fraction of what I think it's actually worth.
I love those. Yeah, they're very, very, very unique. So thank you for sharing that with us. Listeners, I hope you took some good notes today because Kenny sure has shared some amazing profit leaks for you. Your job is to plug these now that you've heard about them. Go look at your business. Where are these leaks happening? And which one are you going to attack first? Because you can't do them all. So pick one and let's start attacking that as a profit leak. Hey, if you'd like my help or if you'd like Kenny's help, be sure and reach out. In fact, Kenny, where can they go to find out more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to our website. It's called Ridge, RIDGE, Media, LLC.com. You can learn more about us there. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Kenny Ridgell, RIDGELL. You can see where I came up with the name. I just went Ridgell, dropped the two L's because the way I used to explain to people is this Ridge with two L's. And I'm like, well, I could just call the name Ridge Media. We are in the Blue Ridge Mountain area, so it made perfect sense with the logo. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you. We do free audits. We just sell. We love to, at the end of the day, like I said, my family's in the business, so to me, it like kind of comes off like second nature. I'm happy to hop on a call, help any way we can, even kind of show you how to work with your agency to put some of these tools into play. I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Very good. And listeners, on my site, we have our 15 profit leaks guide that we'd love to share with you. Feel free to click the link and download it because I'm sure several of those leaks are sitting in your business. If we all we have to do is go out there and plug them. Put that money back in your bottom line. Once again, if you found value, and how could you not find value in today's episode, be sure and like and subscribe on all the channels wherever you're listening to us, and especially out on YouTube, because we love it when our listeners become viewers and help us build out our YouTube channel. Thank you again, and be sure to take your profits first. Don't take them last. They are not scraps. They're yours to take up front. All right, we'll catch you on the next episode. Once again, I'm Diane Gardner, your host for the Profitable Home Services Podcast. Bye bye.